Chapter 4. Just what is mindfulness? So now you have a good understanding of meditation and the knowledge you need to start it. You can pick a form of meditation from the list in Chapter 2, start practicing it, and enjoy reaping the benefits. But if you want to take this transformation to the next level, then you might also think about incorporating mindfulness. We've danced around this topic a little so far, now it's time to dive right in. The role of mindfulness. If you want to change your life for the better, then the answer most likely does not lie with changing things around you. This is the first mistake that many of us tend to make. We think that we are unhappy because we don't have enough stuff, or because we aren't successful enough. Maybe we blame our partners, our health, our looks. But guess what? None of those things will make you happy and fulfilled. This isn't just an empty platitude either, it's a scientific fact, based on research. The truth is that even huge life changes don't alter our mood that much. In one popular study, researchers will use tests in order to measure the happiness of participants immediately after winning the lottery and immediately after losing a limb. As you can imagine, that first group is typically the much happier. But then the researchers will follow up with the same test, conducted again years later. And this time, they find that both groups have settled and have roughly equal happiness. This is what psychologists and sociologists refer to as the hedonistic treadmill. The notion is that there is a kind of baseline of minor dissatisfaction that is normal for humans. We always return to this state because that is what our evolutionary history has mandated. It doesn't make any sense to be miserable to the point of being frozen, that won't help your survival. But likewise, it also doesn't make any sense to be extremely happy. If you were extremely happy and content all the time, then what would be the point in chasing after goals, or improving your situation at all? It is our slight dissatisfaction that has motivated mankind throughout the ages to achieve so much and to grow and develop. In short, that itch is hardwired into us, it is an evolutionary legacy. So how can you ever be happy? Well, several schools of thought have identified that the key to happiness in this case is not to change the things in your life, but rather to change the way that you think about those things. Change the way you appreciate them. This is the concept behind Stoicism, for instance, which teaches that we should stop trying to make a perfect world and instead become better at accepting the world we are presented with. And it's also true of mindfulness, though in this case it's a little more positive. How can changing the way you view a situation change how happy you are? It's a little like being the half-glass full kind of person, and simply choosing to see the good in any situation. Or to put it another way, imagine that you're in a beautiful, natural location. There's a babbling stream nearby, a cool breeze, and an amazing array of mountains and waterfalls in the distance. You'd be pretty calm, am I right? But what if there was a lion waiting in the bush just nearby? Suddenly, that same situation becomes far more sinister and far less relaxing. The problem is when you imagine lions that aren't there. And we do this all the time. And when that possibility of a lion is all you can think about, it's something that can prevent you from being happy. The idea of mindfulness then, is to become aware of what you're thinking, and then choose what you're going to focus on and how you're going to operate. Chapter 5. Cognitive Behavioral Therapy Explained. The problem is that most of us don't ever even think to take control of our thoughts. The rest struggle to accomplish that goal, even if they do try. Therefore, we remain reactive, reacting to everything that happens and letting that control our emotions. Focusing on all the wrong things, panicking about things that really shouldn't matter to us. You might find yourself dreaming of owning things that you can't afford, instead of appreciating the things you have and should be thankful for. Mindfulness helps us by letting us think positively and efficiently, instead of reactively and in a stressed and charged manner. A mindfulness challenge. To demonstrate just how little most of us are able to control our thoughts or our attention, you could try this mindfulness challenge. What you're going to do, is to try and count how many times you sit down during the day. Every time you go to sit down, remember to count that sitting action. This might sound like the easiest challenge in the world, but the hard bit is that you often won't remember to actually do it. In fact, if you manage to count more than one of these, getting up and sitting down again right now doesn't count, then you can consider yourself very in the moment and actually doing pretty well. This might be shocking to you at first, but it just goes to show how distracted most of us are. Mindfulness and CBT. Mindfulness used in this way often goes hand in hand with CBT. So just what is CBT? Essentially, CBT is an attempt to become more aware of your own thoughts, and then to take back control of them. That's precisely what we do when we choose to count the number of times we sit up and stand up, but it can also be what we do when we choose to use a gratitude attitude instead of focusing on the things we don't have, or can't have. So, CBT stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, and the way you might use it is as such. Practice using mindfulness meditation. Remember, this means simply watching your thoughts go by so that you are aware of what you're thinking in that moment. Try not to judge the content of those thoughts, try to control them, or feel bad about them. Just watch them in a dispassionate manner. Eventually, you should try to start making notes of the kinds of things you are thinking during the day too. This is also called metacognition, or thinking about thinking. Ask yourself, oh, how does this make me feel? Why? Oh, did I react to that well? Oh, should I really be stressed about the thing I've been worrying about? Oh, how am I feeling right now? Try to take conscious control of what you're thinking. Make sure to enjoy time with your family by being present. Try to leave your problems at work. Try to focus fully when being creative or productive, etc. Keep a journal, use this journal to write down the kinds of thoughts you might have, and to try and replace them with things you'd rather be thinking. Consider employing the gratitude attitude by making of lists that you are thankful for, or writing 3 things that you appreciated at the end of every day. Doing this will help you to focus on the good instead of the bad. Try to replace some of your negative thoughts with positive mantras. Unlike the mantras used in Vedic meditation, these should have meaning and are designed to help you replace negative thoughts and build more positive patterns. For example, oh, it doesn't matter what people think, oh, I have plenty of things I really want already, oh, I have a family that loves me, oh, I am skilled and capable. If you practice these things, then eventually, you may find that you stop being so upset by things that would normally get to you. Mindful washing up. Mindfulness then can be as simple as choosing to focus on something and thereby turning a mundane activity into a form of meditation. A good example of this is a popular trend that is called mindful washing up. The simple concept here is that you're going to turn an everyday activity, washing up in this case, into something that can be practiced as a form of meditation. So, as you are doing the washing up, focus on it 100%. Try to make it a repetitive action and just watch the bubbles and feel the sponge. If you can do this, you can turn anything into meditation, from walking to jogging, from reading to looking out the window for 5 minutes. Suddenly, you find moments of calm in everything you do and you start to really see and experience the world again. Chapter 6, Using Cognitive Restructuring to Become Calmer and Happier. The next step in cognitive restructuring is something that is really interesting though. While it doesn't directly relate to meditation on its own, we'll touch on it here as it is somewhat relevant. The idea behind cognitive restructuring is that now you have mastered the ability to be aware of your thoughts, you are now going to start restructuring them to become more positive. We have already done that to an extent by choosing to focus on positives, by using mantras, and by being thankful. But now we're going to begin the process of systematically dismantling negative beliefs. You can use this to destroy social anxiety, overcome insomnia, defeat phobias and more. How to combat anxiety with CBT. So, let's say for instance that you have a social phobia. You're going to start out now by using metacognition and perhaps mindfulness meditation the next time that you're feeling stressed about a social event. What is it specifically that you are afraid of? What are you thinking about right now that is making you anxious? Often, you might find that you feel scared you'll say the wrong thing and someone will laugh at you. Maybe you think you're going to offend someone or do something wrong. Maybe you think you're going to stutter. Whatever the case, there is likely a worst-case scenario that you're picturing. Now you can use 2 cognitive restructuring techniques in order to dismantle that image. These are thought challenging, hypothesis testing. Thought challenging means that you're going to actively assess your concern for validity. Just how accurate is this? How likely is it that your fear will become a reality? In the case of saying the wrong thing and everyone laughing at you, you are likely to find that this is not likely, for example. That's because most people aren't so unkind as to laugh when you make a mistake. Who are these people? Your friends? Most people are just as nervous as you, and if you stutter or make a mistake, they'll probably smile and wait for you to correct yourself. Likewise, how likely are you to blurt out something stupid? If you're this concerned, you'll probably be watching what you're saying. Just pause a little before talking and you should be fine. And anyway, what does it matter if they do laugh? Can't you just laugh at yourself with them? If they are laughing in a mean-spirited manner, then is this really someone you want to impress, spend time with anyway? Assess this logically, and if you really believe that your thought is unfounded by the end, then you should find that it loses its power over you. The next step is hypothesis testing, and this one is a little more challenging. Here, you're actually going to test your fear by subjecting yourself to that situation. For example, speak to your friends and then purposefully allow yourself to stutter or make a mistake. Or pause awkwardly. See what happens. You'll likely find that the fear is extremely overblown compared to the reality. And by experimenting with this, you'll find it's gradually easier to overcome the anxiety. Combine this with management techniques, breathing strategies, meditation, focus, etc. And you will find it becomes easier and easier to overcome the anxiety. Chapter 7: Understanding Stress, Meditation, and Your Brain. While meditation is often thought of as being mystical, or somehow connected with religion, the truth is that it is a rigorously studied scientific tool and one that has a profound effect on our biology and the physical structure of our brains. Your brain on stress vs. meditation. Your brain when highly stressed is flooded with cortisol, with adrenaline, and with acetylcholine. These are what we call excitatory neurotransmitters, meaning that they're brain chemicals that get the brain more amped up, and that make you feel anxious and alert. This also triggers the many physiological changes we've already seen. But did you know that it will additionally change the way you think? For one, you start to think more negative thoughts, and to panic more. Your brain works at a higher speed at this point, causing more neurons to fire and more negative possibilities to come to light. At the same time, you'll find that your prefrontal cortex actually shuts down. It's sometimes referred to as a prefrontal lobotomy. For those who didn't do a neuroscience degree, that basically means you're losing access to the higher functioning parts of the human brain that let you plan ahead and thinking logically. This is why we're prone to making short-term mistakes when we're stressed. What's more, is that in a state of heightened arousal such as this, our brain is more likely to lay down new permanent neural connections. This effectively means that we become more likely to repeat the same mistakes and the same thoughts that got us into this state of mind in the first place. Find yourself constantly worrying about your keys? Constantly thinking you've left the oven on? Every time you do this, you actually reinforce those neural pathways, you effectively reward that behavior and make yourself more likely to worry again the next time. Stress makes it hard to focus on anything, and makes us even more likely to act irrationally. Eventually, this can rewire our brains to a shocking degree. On the other hand, if you meditate, you'll find that you calm the mind. You actually enter into slower brainwaves, called alpha and theta. These are accompanied by the production of calming, feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, and even brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This last one can help to improve the formation of new positive networks. This is why those who meditate regularly will find that their brains eventually develop more gray and white matter in the prefrontal cortex, actually making you smarter. The anterior cingulate cortex, and other brain regions associated with the attentional control network, executive control network, will grow and thicken also, meaning you can start thinking about more positive and beneficial things. In short, you become smarter, calmer, and more alert. And you gain a skill you can use at any time. Chapter 8: Optimizing Your Life, Diet, and Habits for Less Stress and Greater Fulfillment. Meditation and CBT can get you a long way when it comes to feeling calmer and more fulfilled. But it's not the whole story. If you really want to experience a calmer and happier life, then you should also start thinking about the way you live your life, and the things that you focus your efforts on. The great thing about meditation and mindfulness is that they will help you to understand just what those important things are, and how to achieve a happier and more content state of mind. Minimalism. For example, you may wish to start living a more minimal life. We are driven by capitalism and commercialism to try and accrue as much stuff as humanly possible. We do this by buying the things we see in magazines, and by lusting after pictures on Instagram. But the more you spend, the more stress you introduce into your life. The more you have, the more you'll feel you need. And the more you think about the stuff you don't have, the more you'll miss out on the opportunities you have right now. Do you really need a widescreen TV? Will it genuinely make your life better, or are you being convinced as such by clever marketing and society? If you don't buy the TV, you have more money in the bank to provide peace of mind. Moreover, you can spend a little less time sitting in front of it, and a little more time playing outdoors with family, or reading books. Go through your belongings and have a think about what you really need and what you don't. Throwing out some items will mean less cleaning, less work, and a tidier, calmer environment. Unplugging. Speaking of not investing in massive TVs, occasionally unplugging and turning off is also a good way to enjoy a calmer and less stressed life. The very nature of screens, their bright luminescence, means that they trigger a release of the stress hormone cortisol. Not only that, but these portals into other people's lives are what give us that feeling of dissatisfaction and constantly having to move forward. If you can take some time away from screens and machines, you'll find it's much easier to appreciate what you have already and to find other ways to make fun. And if you're currently getting messages from your boss at every time of day, then you should absolutely turn that off. This becomes especially important right before bed. So, while it might not be easy to completely do without your phones or other gadgets, you should at least consider having a no-phone zone for an hour before you hit the hay. It can make a huge difference to your recovery. Health. Exercise, fresh air, nutrition, sleep, all these things are vitally important to you feeling your best. Not only because exercise triggers a short-term release of feel-good hormones like serotonin, not only because it feels good to be free from pain and full of energy, but also because being healthy actually supports long-term calmness. Did you know that there are close links between the hormones that regulate our appetite and weight, like thyroid hormones and ghrelin, as well as those that control our mood? Think about your health holistically. If you want to perform and feel your best, you need to cleanse yourself inside and out. As your meditation improves, try to gradually remove those things that are making you unhealthy, and introduce more and more positive change into your life. Conclusion. And there you have it. At this point you now have all the knowledge, background, and tools that you need to begin with meditation. This doesn't have to be a daunting or complex process. Just pick the kind of meditation practice that most appeals to you and give it a go. Remember, no pressure to pick this up immediately. Meditation is a journey, and it should be one that you enjoy. Don't try to race toward enlightenment. The real aim is just to spend more time being aware of what you're thinking, practicing concentration and focus, and learning to rise above the noise and commotion. It's about understanding that you can choose how you react to the world around you, and that by doing so, you can enjoy a calmer and more fulfilling life. And once you've successfully made meditation and mindfulness a big part of your life, what then? Well, you can begin to make your life calmer and simpler in other ways, by cleaning and organizing, by improving your health, and by focusing on the things that matter to you. Meanwhile, you can try to practice being mindful during your other activities, and experimenting with other types of meditation. Perhaps you might like to join a class such as yoga, or maybe even go on a meditation retreat. The more you progress, the more you'll discover yourself and learn to appreciate the world around you. It's an incredible experience, and you're now ready to take those first rejuvenating steps.